Two guys, same age, same city, same $70,000 in the bank, same $80,000 salary. One buys a home, the other keeps renting. 20 years later, both will surprise you. Here is the problem with every rent versus buy debate you have ever watched. The homeownership side shows you the ending and calls it proof. The renting side talks about flexibility and pretends it has no cost. Neither side runs the full math. This video runs the full math. Jake and Marcus are both 32. Both earn $80,000 a year. Both have $70,000 saved. They are renting in the same mid-sized city. A comfortable 3-bedroom home in a decent neighborhood, listed at $350,000. Jake buys it. He puts the full $70,000 down, 20% down, no private mortgage insurance. 30-year loan at 7%. Principal and interest, $1,863 a month. Property taxes, $350. Homeowner's insurance, $150. Maintenance reserve, $290. Jake's total monthly cost, $2,653. Marcus calls his landlord, signs another lease. Comparable 3-bedroom, same area, $2,000 a month. He takes the $70,000 he did not spend on a down payment and puts it into a total market index fund. He also invests the $653 a month difference between what Jake pays and what he pays. On paper, Marcus looks like he found a loophole, living in a nearly identical home for $653 less per month. Capital still in the market. This seems straightforward. It is not. The moment Jake signs at closing, he is not ahead. He is behind, and not by a little. Closing costs on a $350,000 home, 2 to 5% of the purchase price. Lender fees, title insurance, attorney fees, prepaid taxes, escrow setup. Jake's real day one cost, $82,000 to $88,000. That gap needs to be recovered before buying starts to make more financial sense than renting. The real estate industry does not advertise this number. This is where the debate almost always goes wrong. The homeownership side talks about equity from day one. What they do not mention, in year one at 7%, the vast majority of your payment is interest, not equity. Of that $1,863 monthly payment in month one, $1,633 goes to the lender as interest. Only $230 goes toward reducing the loan balance. Jake is paying $1,633 in interest, $350 in taxes, $150 in insurance, $290 in maintenance. That is $2,623 a month going out the door with no equity attached. The phrase, throwing money away on rent, survives because it sounds true. But in year one, Jake is throwing away $2,623 a month on costs that build no equity. Marcus is throwing away $2,000. Marcus is throwing away less. Year 3. Jake has paid approximately $95,500 in total housing costs. Of that, roughly $8,300 has gone toward actual principal paydown. If the home has appreciated at 3 to 4% annually, it is now worth $383,000 to $396,000. His equity, $111,000 to $124,000. That is real wealth, also locked inside the walls. He replaced a water heater in year 2, $800. A wall crack cost a weekend and $400 in materials. These came from the maintenance budget. They will keep coming. Over the same 3 years, Marcus has paid $72,000 in rent. His $70,000 index fund has grown to approximately $93,000. Monthly contributions added another $27,000. Marcus' total invested wealth, approximately $120,000. He has not replaced a water heater. He called his landlord. At year 3, Marcus is slightly ahead in liquid net worth. Jake has more equity on paper. Jake cannot spend equity without selling the house or taking on new debt. Marcus can access his portfolio any business day. Now the costs that almost never make it into the buying analysis. Transaction costs on the back end. When Jake eventually sells, he pays seller's commission, typically 5 to 6% of the sale price. Combined with entry costs, total transaction drag over a full buy and sell cycle is often 8 to 10% of the home's value. That is the hurdle appreciation must clear before the investment actually performs. Property taxes grow with assessed value. Jake's $350 a month is based on a $350,000 home. If the home appreciates to $500,000 in 15 years, his taxes will follow. Marcus' rent will also increase, but his landlord absorbs the property tax exposure, not him. Maintenance is not optional, and it is not always $290 a month. Budget years look like $200 in caulk and light bulbs. Reality years look like $9,000 roofs and $7,500 HVAC systems. A homeowner who does not set aside for major repairs is not saving money. They are borrowing time against a bill with a due date that never gets announced. Opportunity cost, the number that almost never appears in homeownership calculations. Jake's $70,000 down payment is gone from the market the moment he wires it to closing. At a 10% average annual return over 20 years, that $70,000 would have grown to approximately $470,000 in a total market index fund. That is not money Jake lost. It is the alternative outcome he traded for home equity. The comparison is only honest if you count both sides. We are counting both sides. Year 10. Jake's home is worth approximately $483,000 to $500,000 at 3 to 4% annual appreciation. Mortgage remaining, approximately $246,000. Equity, $237,000 to $254,000. Marcus has been investing since day one. His original $70,000 has grown to approximately $181,000. Monthly contributions added approximately $110,000. Marcus' total liquid portfolio at year 10, approximately $291,000. On liquid net worth at year 10, Marcus is still ahead. Jake, $245,000 equity. Marcus, $291,000 liquid. But something important has shifted. Marcus' rent by year 10 has climbed to approximately $2,690 a month. He is paying nearly as much as Jake every month, with nothing building underneath it. And Jake's mortgage payment is fixed for 20 more years. Year 20. Jake's home, approximately $670,000 to $700,000. Mortgage remaining, $188,000. Equity, $482,000 to $512,000. His monthly housing cost has stayed anchored to that original $1,863 mortgage payment, even as everything around him has gotten more expensive. Marcus' portfolio at year 20, approximately $550,000 to $580,000. Assuming he held through every market correction without selling. Assuming he kept contributing even as his rent absorbed more of his income. Marcus' rent by year 20, roughly $3,600 a month. In the later years, his monthly investment contributions have shrunk. The cost advantage he started with is gone. At year 20, Jake has $480,000 to $510,000 in home equity. Marcus has $550,000 to $580,000 in liquid assets. Marcus is slightly ahead on total net worth, but Jake has something Marcus does not. In 10 years, Jake's mortgage ends. At year 30, he owns a home outright worth $850,000 to $950,000. Monthly housing cost drops to taxes, insurance, and maintenance, roughly $900 to $1,100 a month. Marcus at year 30 is still paying rent, which by then has climbed to $4,700 to $5,000 a month. No asset, no endpoint, no floor under his cost of living. Year 30 comparison. Jake, home worth $850,000 to $950,000, fully owned, monthly cost $900 to $1,100. Marcus, portfolio $700,000 to $800,000 liquid, rent $4,700 to $5,000 with no end date. Now here is the part that changes the renting math more than anything else. The renter-investor strategy works, and works extremely well, only if you actually invest the difference every month. Every analysis that shows renting outperforming buying is built on the assumption that the renter invests every dollar of the cost gap with perfect consistency. The data on whether actual renters do this is not encouraging. Most people spend the difference. They upgrade their lifestyle. They move into a nicer apartment. When the number in their bank account grows, they find a way to spend it. The buying strategy enforces savings automatically through the mortgage payment every single month. That forced discipline is worth something no spreadsheet captures. It is the primary reason homeownership produces more wealth for average people than the theoretical numbers predict. Now, equally honest about the buying side. The break-even timeline is longer than most buyers expect. Buy a house and sell it in 3 years, and there is a very real chance you lost money compared to renting. Mobility has a price. Homeownership makes mobility expensive. Concentration risk is real and underappreciated. Jake's entire net worth is concentrated in one building, on one street, in one zip code. A homeowner in Detroit in 2006 or Las Vegas in 2008 knows what it feels like when your largest asset drops 30% and you cannot simply rebalance. Liquidity matters more than people realize until they need it. Jake cannot sell 5% of his house to cover a medical emergency. He cannot tap equity without taking on new debt. Here is the honest answer, and it is not the same answer for everyone. Buying wins clearly when you are planning to stay in one place for at least 7 to 10 years. The transaction costs stop being a drag, and the fixed payment becomes a long-term advantage. If your local price-to-rent ratio is below 20, home price divided by annual rent for a comparable property, buying tends to pencil out. If rent is already close to what a mortgage costs, the financial argument for renting weakens every year. Renting wins clearly when you might move in the next 3 to 5 years. The transaction costs alone will likely leave you behind. If your local price-to-rent ratio is above 25, renting and consistently investing the difference will often outperform buying even over long time horizons. If you are in a career phase where mobility creates meaningful income growth, the flexibility premium of renting has real economic value that does not appear on any spreadsheet. And if you can genuinely maintain the investment discipline the renting strategy requires, buying every month, holding through every crash, not touching it, the math supports you. Here is the question that changes everything. What if you did not have to choose? What if you house hacked, bought a duplex, lived in one unit, rented the other, let your tenant cover most of the mortgage? Tenant covers $900 of the $1,863 mortgage. Protagonist's effective housing cost, $963 a month. Difference between that and Marcus's rent, $1,037 a month invested. Both building equity and investing. The most important question in this analysis is not which one wins on average. It is 2 questions. Question 1. How long are you actually planning to stay? Question 2. If you rent, are you honestly going to invest the difference? Everything else flows from those answers. The math, the comparison, the year, 20 outcome. All of it depends on what you actually do, not what you plan to do. Jake at year 30. Home worth $850,000 to $950,000. Fully owned. Monthly cost under $1,100. Made it work because he stayed, maintained consistently, never sold in a panic. Marcus at year 30. Portfolio $700,000 to $800,000 liquid. Rent $4,700 to $5,000 a month with no end date. Made it work because he genuinely invested every month through every crash. Both paths worked. For different people. In different markets. For different timelines. The math does not pick a winner. Your answers to the 2 questions do.